All right, we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast, and for the second part of the show, we're going to talk about the power rankings that were released by NFL.com. I will give you my thoughts on them, so let's go right through it. So at 32, they have the Carolina Panthers. Now, I do like what the Panthers did this offseason. They signed a couple of offensive linemen. In the draft, they drafted a receiver, they drafted a running back. Again, the running back class was not deep this year. They did take Jonathan Brooks. They also did take another tight end. So that with the combination of adding offensive linemen this offseason, as well as trading for Deontay Johnson, they're trying to put Bryce Young in a position to be successful. Now, how is that going to pan out? We'll have to wait and see. But they have at least made an effort to try to surround Bryce Young with more talent and put him in a better situation than he was last year. And I hope that ends up being the case because, first of all, the Panthers put a lot of investment in him, trading up to get him. And, seems like a good kid. And it's weird saying that, but yeah, it seems like the Panthers like him. They want him to be successful, and he had a rough first season. So hopefully, with the Panthers now surrounding him with more talent, he'll have a better year, and he could put the rough rookie season behind him, and I think he really wants to. So then we go to 31. We got the Patriots. I'm not really surprised by that. I mean, the Patriots, they still got a lot of work to do. I mean, this is kind of a rebuilding year. Jacoby Brissett they brought in. You draft Drake May. They did take a receiver in the draft to add another playmaker, but this team is still far away from being a contender. And right now, 2024 is going to be kind of that rebuilding year, and you got a new head coach in Gerard Mayo. So, again, they got their franchise guy in Drake May, but we'll see how they handle that. Is he going to start right away? Is he going to sit behind Jacoby Brissett? I feel like that'll be the more likely thing, is he sits behind Jacoby Brissett, but that's just me. And again, you took him at number 3, so I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But Patriots are at 31. Got the Titans at 30. I feel like that might be a little bit too low for them. I like what they've done. I mean, I did like what they did this offseason. They did take a tackle in the draft. I mean, they did lose Derrick Henry. You brought in Tony Pollard. You brought in Calvin Ridley. They did trade for L'Jarius Sneed to help out the defense, particularly in the secondary. This is going to be a big year for Will Levis. And the Titans are trying to surround him with talent to be successful. Drafting offensive linemen. You can't go wrong with that unless you don't nail the pick. But they're trying to put him in a good situation, and he's got to take a big leap in year 2 if the Titans are going to want to be competitive. They're going to be in a very competitive division because you got the Jaguars, you got the Colts, you got the Texans. Those teams are better than you. Most people are going to say that. I mean, you're definitely going to say the Texans are. But right now, most people probably rank the Titans last. And if they're going to want to prove the doubters wrong, Will Levis is really going to have to step up in year 2. Now, it's going to be a new system that he's going to be learning. So we'll see how he adapts to that. But he's going to have to make a big leap if the Titans are going to want to be competitive this year. So then you got the Commanders at 29. They drafted their franchise guy in Jaden Daniels. Now, will he start? Because the Commanders, another team that brought in a veteran quarterback in Marcus Mariota. Could he start first and then you transition into Jaden Daniels? We'll have to wait and see. But they also did take Johnny Newton for the defensive line. Because you had some guys that they had to let go. They traded Montez Sweat. They traded Chase Young. So yeah, Johnny Newton, but Jazan Newton from Illinois, who actually went. I think he went. He went in the second round. Yeah, he was the 4th pick in the second round. A lot of people were saying, he's going to be in the first round, but that was. I mean, listen, that was a good pick for the Commanders, but we'll see how they end up being in 2024. The Broncos. I feel like the Broncos should be lower. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, because they could be looking to possibly trade Courtland Sutton. They already traded Jerry Jeudy. Sutton might be, I think, is unhappy in Denver, so he might want to go elsewhere. So we'll see what ends up happening there. But yeah, I think the Broncos should be lower. But again, that's just me. Again, Bo Nix, I don't know if he's going to be starting right away, but they got the Broncos at 28. The Giants are at 27. Yeah, I really can't make an argument for it other than, well, actually, I mean, I think the defense is going to be good. But the problem is the quarterback position. Who's going to be playing quarterback to start the year? Is it going to be Daniel Jones? Is it going to be Drew Lock? Is it going to be Tommy DeVito? They didn't take a quarterback in this draft. So, what's going to happen? I like the Malik Neighbors pick a lot because, again, receiver is something they needed. They needed a number 1 wide receiver, and they got that. They're starting to, they are building something. Like I said, getting Brian Burns from the Panthers to go along with Kayvon Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence, you got to like that. Bobby Okereke was a good signing last year. Deonte Banks, solid corner. They drafted another corner in this draft. They got arguably the best safety in the draft from what I was hearing about. So that's encouraging to replace Xavier McKinney. But again, it's the offense. The offense is going to hold them back, and that's why they're ranked at 27. Cardinals at 26. Again, another team that's got more work to do. They drafted Marvin Harrison Jr., so Kyler Murray gets his number 1 wide receiver. I expect the Cardinals to win more games in 2024, but they're in the NFC West. I don't expect them to contend for that. But healthier Kyler, I expect them to win a few more games. But I don't know how good they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna be a playoff team, but I expect them to be more competitive in 2024. The Saints at 25 took an offensive lineman, a corner. They were the team that drafted Spencer Rattler later in the draft. But I expect them to be competitive in the NFC South. But they're at 25 currently. The Seahawks are at 24. I feel like that might be low for them. I'm curious to see how that quarterback battle plays out, if that ends up being the case between Sam Howell and Geno Smith. But you like their roster. They got a new head coach. But they might be a little bit low. 23, you got the Raiders. They took Brock Bowers, best player available, with their first selection. They're going to go into the season with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell as the quarterbacks. So I expect the Raiders to be a competitive team. And you like what they did on defense, also getting Christian Wilkins from the Dolphins, because the Dolphins had to release him. So you got to like that. And Minshew almost brought the Colts to the playoffs. So I think that could be the case with the Raiders. And we'll see how a full year of Antonio Pierce plays out. Now, I'm not saying the Raiders are going to win like 11 games, but, they could win 9 games and maybe get in. But the AFC is very competitive. So 22 is the Colts. Look, I want to see how a full year of Anthony Richardson goes. Because, look, the Colts just missed out on the playoffs. Now you got Anthony Richardson coming back. They did take a receiver. They took a Laiatu Latu, pass rusher. I mean, I think the Colts are going to be a good team, and I'm hoping that Anthony Richardson is healthy. That's going to be another team fighting for a playoff spot. Then the Jets are at 21. I feel like the Jets could be a little bit higher, because you got the Falcons and the Buccaneers above them. But again, you got to see how Aaron Rodgers is. If he's not good, then yeah, they're going to be ranked lower. But they drafted a tackle. They drafted a receiver. You still got that defense. They signed Mike Williams. You got Breece Hall. You got Garrett Wilson. The offensive line has improved. If Aaron Rodgers is healthy, I mean, I think this team should be a little bit higher. Then you got the Falcons and the Buccaneers. I'd probably rank the Falcons slightly ahead of the Buccaneers. Again, I'm going to probably be biased and take the Buccaneers to win the division, but I'd probably rank the Falcons ahead. But that's just me. Then the Vikings are ahead of them at 18. Well, I'd probably rank the Vikings lower because, again, I like their roster a lot, but they're going to have a rookie quarterback possibly, or Sam Darnold starting. So I'd probably rank them lower. I mean, again, like their roster a lot, their playmakers, their defense, but similar to the Giants, the quarterback position could be a bit of an issue. But, I mean, J.J. McCarthy's a rookie. And I'm expecting him to sit behind Sam Darnold for a little bit. And then they go to him. But we'll have to see. So then the Rams are at 17. Maybe put them a little bit higher. The Chargers are actually at 15. The Bears are at 16. I maybe rank the Chargers a little bit lower. Maybe move the Rams up. Rams did drafts. They did go heavy on the defensive side in the draft, which I thought was smart, especially because they're going to have to replace Aaron Donald. I mean, the Bears, again, rookie quarterback with Caleb Williams. That's why they're not ranked higher, in my opinion. But if Caleb Williams is that guy from day one, I mean, this offense is going to be really special. But yeah, Bears at 16, Chargers at 15, like I said. Maybe it could be a little bit lower. Or no, Jaguars, I don't know. Maybe they could be lower as well. They're at 14. Drafted Brian Thomas Jr. with their first pick. And that's why we'll talk about the Jaguars in the next segment. But yeah, they let go of Zay Jones. So they're at 14. Steelers at 13. Team that I like their draft. Drafting some offensive linemen. Getting Russell Wilson, a weapon in Roman Wilson. Also drafting a linebacker as well. So, look, what's unfortunate for them is they play in the AFC North. And that's the same thing with the Browns, who are at 12. But those teams are going to be good. Steelers and Browns, they're going to be fighting for playoff spots. Then we go to 11. You got the Dolphins. Very explosive offense. Did lose some guys on the defensive side of the ball. But I still think they'll be a good team. And it's going to be between them. It's going to be a 3-team race between the Bills, the Jets, and the Dolphins, you would imagine, for that AFC East. In the top 10, you got the Cowboys. Yeah, Cowboys are a top 10 team, even with the lack of moves they made this offseason. But I would put them in the top 10. Got the Bengals at 9. Healthy Joe Burrow coming back. Yeah, this team is going to be up there as one of the best teams in the AFC. Packers are at 8. That might be a little bit low. I'd put the Packers higher than the Bills, and then them and the Texans are going to kind of be battling it out. But they're at 8. Bills at 7. I feel like the Bills should be lower. Now, I think the Bills are still going to be a good team, but losing Diggs and some of the guys they lost this offseason, I think I'd rank them a little bit lower. Because there's other teams I like better than them. Texans are at 6. I mean, again, what can we say about them? They are going to be one of the best teams in the AFC this upcoming year. And then the top 5 is the Eagles, the Lions, the Ravens, the 49ers, and then the Chiefs. I mean, I don't really have any complaints there. Especially the top. Like, the Eagles, maybe, you could maybe move the Eagles out of the top 5. But, I mean, the Eagles, they drafted corners in this draft. They addressed a lot this offseason between free agency and the draft. So, I think their defense is going to be better. You got Vic Fangio now. The offensive side of the ball, you added Saquon Barkley. I mean, the Eagles should be back to being a very good team. And that collapse is going to be a thing of the past. But yeah, I mean, I don't have any problems with the rest of the teams. Got the Lions, Ravens, 49ers, Chiefs at number 1. I have no complaints there. No complaints there. So, I mean, there's nothing really that I have like strong feelings on. I mean, there are some teams like the Bills I said maybe could be a little bit lower in the top 10. I'd put the Packers over them. I'd put the Bengals over them. But again, that's just me. So, but let me know what you guys think about the power rankings. Look at the top 5, like I said, Eagles, Lions, Ravens, 49ers, Chiefs. That's your top 5 right there. So, Chiefs are at 1. No surprise there. So, before we go into our next break, just want to remind you guys again, got to remove the graphic here. But yeah, just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is GSMCPodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is GSMCPodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So when we come back from our second break of the show, where you're going to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars, a few things that they've done. I'll talk about their draft as well. We'll talk about things regarding Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, and Zay Jones, even though I kind of already talked about them. But yeah, that is what we will do when we come back from our second break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.